Good morning, everybody. Everybody in my world. Oh, that keyframe rate is too low again. All right, I'm going to go through and double check my audio, make sure it's working everywhere. I think might have finally gotten all the bugs out of the system. Assuming you guys can hear me, that is.
Yes, we can. We are here with you.
Thank you so much, Adriana. All right, I think we're just about there. Kind of hard to know for sure. Maybe somebody could take a minute and go check on Facebook and see if you can hear me and hear the music, because it should be playing.
Okay, I'm gonna go.
Thank
I
you so
did
much
see
for
the
checking.
notification from Twitch that you're live right now, but I don't know if it's.
Okay, I'll check that one
I'm gonna
if you check the
Facebook.
Facebook one. Thank you. I found out for the last couple of days I didn't quite have the audio set up correctly, so if I just check now, that'll save me a bunch of time later to make sure I get it right. Today's workbook lesson is 29. God is in everything I see. I just want to make sure he's also in everything I hear.
Yeah, right. Let me just get in.
Sure.
I'll tell you.
No problem. It looks like I'm sending everything.
Yeah, I can hear you. It's just,
Okay.
you know what? It's just that in the live mode, we can hear you, because I know that some other.
Okay.
But it's when we end the session, when the video stays like fixed. That is when the audio doesn't stay. I don't know if
All right.
there's a way for you to just.
It might be different this time. I think I might have fixed our problem. Why don't we just go for it? And if perchance I'm wrong, then you know what I can do is I can start recording this, so I'll have my own local recording. How about that? That way I've got it no matter what. Ready, set, saving the replay maybe? Looks like I'd have to stop it and start it again. Oh, there we go. Got it. Didn't have to restart it. All right. Good morning, Louisa. Now we can finally get started. Luisa's here. Okay. Workbook lesson 29. Good morning, everybody. God is in everything I see. I'm going to read today's lesson right over here. This comes from A Course in Miracles Workbook for Dummies, written by Tom Wakechild. And I'm using the online version, and I'm sharing it out to our Facebook group, and I'm recording it out to Twitch and to YouTube. So if anybody else wants to see it later on, they can. And off to the races. God is in everything I see. The idea for today, that God is in everything I see, explains why you can see all purpose in everything. The idea that God is in everything I see explains why nothing is separate, by itself or in itself. And this idea that God is in everything I see explains why nothing you see means anything. In fact, this idea that God is in everything I see explains every idea we've used thus far. And it'll be true for all subsequent ones as well. today's idea that God is in everything I see is the whole basis for vision. You will probably find this idea that God's in everything I see very difficult to grasp at this point. But if you don't find it difficult, that's okay too. No problem. You may find this idea that God is in everything I see silly, irreverent, senseless, funny, and even objectionable. Certainly, God is not in a table, for example. As you see this table sitting here, we emphasized yesterday that a table shares the purpose of the universe. And what shares the purpose of the universe shares the purpose of its creator. Dad, would you like to read a couple of paragraphs?
Here I am. Okay. Try then today to begin to learn how to look on all things with love, appreciation, and open-mindedness. You don't see all things with love, appreciation, and open-mindedness now. Would you know what is in all things? Nothing is as it appears to you. Everything's holy purpose stands beyond your little range. When vision has shown you the holiness that lights up the world, you will understand today's idea that God is in everything I see perfectly. And you will not understand how you could ever have found this idea that God is in everything I see difficult. Our 6 2-minute practice periods for today should follow a now familiar pattern. Begin with repeating the idea to yourself and then apply it to randomly chosen subjects about you, naming each one specifically. Try to avoid the tendency toward self-directed selection, which may be particularly tempting in connection with today's idea that God is in everything I see because of the idea's wholly alien nature. Remember that any order you impose is equally alien to reality. Your list of subjects should therefore be as free of self-selection as possible. For example, a suitable list might include God is in this coat hanger, God is in this magazine, God is in this figure, God is in that lamp, God is in that body, God is in the door, God is in that wastebasket. In addition to the assigned practice periods, repeat the idea that God is in everything I see. For today, at least once an hour, looking slowly about you as you say the words unhurriedly to yourself. At least once or twice, you should experience something very special, which I'll know in a minute as soon as Lee turns the page for me. You should experience a sense of blank.
That
Maybe,
was the whole thing. In
but you haven't
addition to
got
the
there yet.
assigned,
Keep
no,
going, Lee.
that is it. In addition to the
No.
assigned practice periods, I repeat the idea at least
God is
twice.
even in the blank, Lee. You turn the page one more time, please. You should
Okay,
experience a sense of
this is it. There is no other words here. That's it. There's no sense of anything.
No,
At
Scroll
least
up.
once or
No, you.
Scroll
twice,
you
up.
you should
should
experience a sense
experience a
of
sense of
restfulness as you
The,
do this.
restlessness as you do this.
Yeah,
Restfulness.
Yeah, that's.
You should, at
I,
least once or twice, you
I
should
rest my
experience a
case.
sense of restfulness as you do this.
Lee,
That's
it's
the
the bottom
last
of the
part of it.
screen. The bottom of your screen is where that last part is.
Yeah.
yes, we all
It,
see this. I don't understand what you're trying to tell me. This is the
I'm
last
trying
line
to
of the
tell you,
sentence.
the full slide of that page is not showing. It shows me that the top pieces of those words in that last phrase are not showing. Or maybe
I'm
it's on my
sorry.
screen.
I
Okay.
No,
see it
yeah,
on
I
my
think it's
screen.
yeah, I
Adriana
think
sees
it's
it on
your
her screen.
screen because you did read at the end. I mean, of restfulness as you do this, and that's
There
where
it
it
is.
stops. Yeah,
I
It's
didn't.
all good.
That was
don't
a
worry.
Zoom defect. I
Yes,
didn't
yes.
have my page fulfilled, and the black taskbar was covering it.
The good
So,
news is
at
we're
least
here.
once or
We're good.
twice, we should experience a sense of restfulness. Now I am calm as I do this because God is in my computer also.
He sure is.
And there
And
you
she
have it.
sure is.
She sure is.
All right. I'm going to go directly over to the notes and not pass go so I can get out of all of this stuff. Make sure it shows up everywhere else we need it to show up. Because God is in everything I see. God is in everything I see. The idea that God is in everything I see is a common idea, yet it's difficult to grasp. Sure is. Hey, Papa, would you mind going on mute for me?
I don't mind.
Thanks, Papa. All right. Make you a moderator, too. There we go. Okay. Thanks, everybody. Boy, oh boy. Let's get everybody here on Saturday morning. How nice. All right. Notes to lesson 29. God's in everything I see. The idea that God is in everything I see is a common idea, yet it's difficult to grasp on the concrete level of physical form. Most religions state that God is everywhere and in everything. Yet due to our belief in separation, we find it difficult to apply that same concept to concrete objects that appear all around us. Certainly, this lesson is asking us to look beyond the world of physical form and search for a deeper meaning or essence. This idea may also be a frightening one. If God is in everything that I see, and what I see is a warring planet, is it safe to assume that God must be a God of war and not a God of peace and love? It also leads to the question that if God is in everything I see, why does evil appear to exist in our world? The world that we experience and see with our physical eyes is not the real world as God created it. Instead, it is a myriad of false images that bear witness to our erroneous, fear-based belief system. If God is in everything I see, and I'm failing to see God in my world, this implies that my perception is in error. True reality is not what you perceive. It must lie beyond the physical form that you claim as your reality. The world you see is, excuse me, the world you perceive is based on your egoic beliefs in separation, limitation, and lack. Your egoic mind filters everything that you perceive based on those beliefs. This viewpoint distorts and provides false images to support your ego's beliefs about its world. When you choose to follow a different belief system, you will see a different world. Today, you're asked to look at all things with love, appreciation, and open-mindedness. This is a radically different mindset than your ego's belief system. You're asked to look beyond mere form, beyond the past stories, and abandon your previous judgments about your world. You are asked to see a different purpose for your world. Can you look upon your world with a single yet different purpose and realize that everything you survey is there for your own best interest? Or will you choose to perceive yourself in competition with the world? It's bad. Can you look upon all things with love and appreciation? Or will you see a world of struggle, conflict, and fear? The choice is determined by the thought system you choose to follow. Mother Teresa was once asked how she was able to cope with the misery, sickness, and poverty of the people of her world while still maintaining her good spirits. Her reply was a simple one. She was not administering to some unknown physical body. Instead, she was administering to her beloved Jesus. Mother Teresa saw the face of Christ in every person. It was Jesus that peopled her world. Others saw the sick, helpless, and infirmed, while Mother Teresa chose to see God in everything. How easy or difficult is it for you to look past an object's physical form and see it in a larger context with appreciation and love? When you change the purpose of the object in question, is it easier to see that same object in a different mindset? Well, my friends, that brings us to the end of the notes. We've read the notes and the lesson. We're going to come back to our primary purpose here. Above all else, I want to see things differently, and God is in everything I see today. That was yesterday's. God is in everything I see. Let me know what you guys think.
Good morning.
Good morning, Luisa. Good morning,
Hi,
everybody.
that's a difficult one. And because I remember having this conversation with someone I studied the Course of Miracles with, and seeing God everywhere in things and nature and in the eyes of a child is pretty easy. But when you are willing to see God in the less beautiful things, or the less wonderful people out there, like when you say, I see God in Osama bin Laden or in Hitler, then it's like, what? it's it's
Yeah,
it's
it's
a
harder.
very it's a very difficult thing, but we cannot do exceptions, and that is the whole point, to learn to see God in the less nice people and situations and places and circumstances. So, yeah, for me, it's a very difficult one. And when I express that to the person I studied the Course in Miracles with, he gave me a very nice exercise, which I tried to do. And as a matter of fact, I did it this morning when I was driving my child, and someone just got I almost under my car just because he was not looking, and he just crossed, and he came across the street, came in out of anywhere, and I was like very scared. And then I came immediate because I read this lesson in the morning, so I already had that in my mind. And so I said, I love you. And that's what I do to the people that I don't know. When I walk on the street, when I sit in the metro and everybody is like down and afraid and full of fear and serious and sometimes even not friendly, I look at everyone without any exception and I say to myself, I mean to them, but in my mind, I love you. I love you. I love you. And with the time, it becomes almost a meditation, and then I really get into saying I love you to everyone I cross on the street, people who is asking for money, or people who is walking, or people who is just working, or people, everybody. And it's a great exercise, but it's very confronting because it is easier to say I love you to a very gorgeous guy, but more difficult to say I love you to the,
To your ex-husband.
unfriendly, for example.
Mm, well
Yeah, for
put.
example. But yeah, so there is the whole meditation. That's the whole. And then I want to share something else and say thank you to Tom, because I started this morning your book about the 7 R's, from to get out of fear. I just forgot the name. If
Yeah,
you
the seven
remind
R
me.
formula for removing
Yes,
fear. Yeah,
and I
yeah.
am at the
Good,
first
really good
part
book.
of your book. Yeah, I'm at the first part of that book where you are sharing your story, and it's a very, very hard story. It almost got me. It was the first
It
thing I was
sure
reading
is.
this morning, and I was almost in tears. Imagine that little boy struggling, and wow, it was a beautiful, beautiful way of starting my day. So thank you so much, and I'm very, very, I feel very lucky and honored having you in the room. So thank you. I'm done speaking.
Same to you.
Well,
Lovely, Louisa. That was beautiful. You're definitely bringing in the black belt level part of this. It's absolutely easier for me to love the things that I love and let my ego drive forward with its thoughts, but that doesn't help me respond with love. That doesn't help me support my children with love responses rather than frustration. So I'm coming back to it. I'm reminding myself, I'm not to a black belt yet, but one day at a time, I definitely am getting better a little bit by a little bit. So, what's the easiest thing to see God in for you, or the hardest?
well,
I was going to add something. Excuse me. Lately, I've
Good
been having
morning.
this. Good
I know
morning.
it's the good morning. You got to take your sip of coffee and get that frosting go, like me.
I'm still in bed actually. I'm still laying. I haven't even made my
I'm
coffee.
close.
It's so funny.
I'm a little jealous of you, actually.
Looking out, seeing beautiful snow, and
Oh, lovely.
yeah, Adriana, I've also practiced that as well. I'm not sure where I learned that from, that particular meditation. I can't credit anyone, but I've done that exercise, and I believe that once we tap in to the soul in us, that Christ consciousness, um, it actually, and it is a practice. It's like a meditative practice. Um, it comes from not our 3D self, so to speak. It definitely comes from that consciousness, that love energy. And when we tap into it, it starts to flow. It becomes more natural to do. And I actually had taken my mom to the hospital because she was having some bad symptoms or cold type symptoms, and we wanted to make sure it wasn't COVID. And I had to leave her there, and because they don't let you stay and go back, with the person. And I remember seeing a woman come in. She was pregnant, and she looked so sad. Um, and maybe a pregnant woman, maybe that she's easier to love than some, but I just got this immense feeling of love and for her and her unborn child. It was so, so powerful in me. It was just like I just wanted to send her love. And my ego side said, "Don't you say anything. Be quiet. Don't say it. You don't know her." And I overrode that. And as I was leaving, because I had been watching her interact with like the clerk at the desk and the person that was with her and her posture, I just knew she was struggling and not well. And she had taken a seat on the side of the room. And as I left, I just bent down and I just said, I can't remember exactly what I said, but something like, I hope you feel better and that, you're okay. And her face, she looked up, because she was wearing a mask and her eyes met, and she was so grateful in that moment that I said that. Maybe she felt the love that I had for her. But I have practiced sending that love to others who, same like you, Adriana, when I'm driving, because people do all kinds of things, cutting you off and
I guess it was Luisa, the one that spoke earlier, but I don't mind. We are all the oneness, so you can you
was
can get
Luisa
that.
that
No,
said that? Okay.
yeah, it was Luisa
Was
who
I
shared
wasn't
that. But
looking at
don't
the phone.
worry,
Okay.
don't worry, Janine, no
Okay.
worry. We are all one.
Oh yes, we are all one. Yes, it was Luisa. Then same thing as in New Jersey. People are all they cut you off. And as I have taken on this love, and seeing God in everything and everyone, I see myself as allowing, assisting in the flow of traffic. And I'm like, oh, I'm helping. I'm allowing the people to come in and get on their way, and they must have somewhere important to go. And it's amazing how when your mindset changes, but for sure struggling when it comes to seeing people like here when the people were attacking the Capitol, for instance, and those type of moments, and watching their angry faces, and I try not to watch the news too often, but that was hard to miss. Um, and in that moment, and my thing has always been to say, well, they're unconscious right now, and what they're doing, and that helps me to see people differently, thinking, and not as a judgment to say they're unconscious, but that kind of, I guess, like what Jesus says, they know not what they do, and to send them love in that way. So I am done.
Thanks, Janine.
I don't know. I can share something if you'd like, that at least in regards to uh, this lesson, although it wasn't, just God is in everything I see. Uh, about 25, 30 years ago, I was, doing some spiritual work. And one of the things that we were learning was what we called the serious drill. The serious drill is really misnomed or misnamed, kind of what you were thinking, but it would be to send out love and appreciation and acceptance to the people around you. And the idea why it was called the serious drill was to be able to help shift that person from being serious or being upset, yeah, or just taking the world too seriously, and to lift them up. And so, anyways, my master told, and she was a Buddhist monk, but she told me, we were doing it on people, basically, and shifting and getting good results on it. But she told me, I says, that it's really an interesting exercise and wonderful experiences with it. And she said, do it on because she said you just don't do it on people, you do it on the rock, you do it on everything. Okay. And we were talking about something else, but so I was meditating a couple of days later, and I was out there. I'd left the body and I was moving all, out astral projecting and stuff like that. And anyways, I came upon some presence, and this presence actually was pulling me towards it. And all that I could think of, or all that I felt, was this tremendous sense of evil. And it basically was saying, I'm going to take you away. I'm going to take you away. And it was dragging me into this dark abyss. And I was trying to reason with it. And I was saying, I've learned so much. I still don't think I've got more to learn. Release me. And I was trying to argue with it and first I tried to just use, I'll say, power, and kind of overpower it. And it just kept on laughing, and most hideous laugh. And it was the most evil feeling. And its appearance was totally evil. When you looked at it, you just saw evil, evil, evil. It kept on dragging me and saying, I'm going to take you. And it was dragging me into this black abyss. And I tried to use my energy to pull away from it. It just kept on laughing and kept on pulling, and I kept on going off and off towards this abyss. I tried to reason with it, and it just kept on laughing, and it was just overpowering. And just before I got to the black abyss, I remember what my master told me. And I started to do this beaming of love and appreciation for this, what I perceived to be totally evil. And I just kept on beaming as much love and appreciation for it just the way it was. And then it turned around, and it was the most hideous face. And I just kept on beaming it love and appreciation, honoring it for what it was. And then right before me, it transformed into a most beautiful, the frown turned into a beautiful smile, and it just transformed into a beautiful image of a smiling face. And then it just melted away, and in that moment it released me, and in a sudden swoosh I went back into my body. But that's the uh, just being able to appreciate and honor it. Whenever I was struggling and trying to resist it, I was powerless against it. But the power of love, appreciation, acceptance for what it is as it is, and what it was is, there was no evil out there. It was all in my mind. I had projected that. And whenever I saw that as appreciated, loved it, it just totally transformed before my eyes. So it's what the mystics call their dark night of the soul. It's kind of whenever you either go mad or you awaken to the truth. But
I'm having a
the
dark night of the snow right now.
yeah,
I get it.
yeah. So, anyways, for just what it's worth, God is in everything. See, and what it is just say, appreciate, honor, and when you do that, you'll find that uh, your world, your vision, will just transform before your eyes. So that's enough for that. I just wanted to.
Thank
I
you.
have to I have to jump in because you mentioned some part of your experience that looks a lot to experiences that I had recently, and it's amazing because you said that the voice that you heard, it was and this awful laughter. There was a moment well, it was like weeks ago, or 1 week ago or something. I was not asleep. I was beginning to fall asleep. And out of the sudden, I started to hear this huge, loud sound in my ears, like when you go out and when you are done with a party and the music was so loud that your ears stayed with the numbing sound. I don't know how to say it. And the sound started to get louder, 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 and I couldn't just like I couldn't move, but I was beginning to experience this fear. But as I had a phobia with darkness in the past, and I'm doing the Course in Miracles, I started to say, no, not gonna be fearful of this anymore. I want to hear what is going on. And then laughter, the deep down, like voice laughter, awful, sounded like among this huge noise, like ha ha ha, but it was awful. It was fearful. I mean, I'm really amazed of what you said right now, because it looked like a lot of what I heard, and it gave me so much fear. And I was in my room in darkness, but I didn't want it to turn on the light, because I started to say, the fear is stranger here. There's only light. There's only light. There's only light. There's no fear here. There's only light. There's only light. And the sound started to fade away. And then I could turn on the light, and I said to myself, "Oh my God, I'm having again my phobia with darkness." And then, well, I get to talk to this friend at that early in the morning, because I don't know, it was like this moment when I was feeling all this huge fear, and I was trying to face it. And I thought that I was alone, but this person wrote to me right in that second. I didn't call anybody or write anybody, but this person talked to me at that time. And I was feeling, oh my God, yes, I asked. Because I was asking, when I was saying the fear is a stranger here, there's only light, I started to call Jesus. I didn't want to stop the experience, because I did wanted to face the fear. And I started to say, well, Jesus, help me. I'm really fearful of this. I need help. I need help. There's the fear is a stranger here. There's only light. And then when I could release myself from it, that's when this person texted me. And I was, oh my God, there's somebody here. And I started to talk to him, and I could go back to sleep, because he helped me to get back to sleep with a meditation, and it was wonderful. And then the dream that I told you about, like yesterday, I guess it was, again, this huge voice in the darkness appeared, and I mean, my mind went in the dream like in a full dark space, deep, and a deeper voice, like from within me, started to say something that I cannot remember everything, but the part that I do remember is like, the reversion of thought can only happen from the inside. And the voice was super, super deep. Like, it was like the voice of the ha 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 that I heard the other day, but it wasn't so fearful anymore. And it was in a full dark mode. So I don't know if that has something special. I'm going to have to replay this session, because I want to hear again the spirits from Tom. And something happened yesterday as well, as I was talking with a friend, and he was having a hard time with his thoughts, and well, with his reality, pseudo-reality view, they still call it like that. And the things that he was experiencing were so strong that there was no words that I could say to him that he could take it. I mean, there's no love that I could send to him that he could take it. So I had to remain silent and only hear. And as I was hearing him, I was really like sad, because I thought, my God, how can this still happen if it's not true? I mean, the problem he was facing with other person, both persons are right in some parts of the situation, but they are both love. I mean, for me, they are both love. And I couldn't like help him in that exact moment, and I felt bad about it. But then I went to bed and I said to myself, well, this is something that I cannot control. I'm not going to do anything about this, but I'm going to send love. Because if this is showing me something that it scares me, that's why I'm feeling sad, is because it's something that I need to embrace as part of myself. And I remember in that moment the Ho'oponopono thing, the four things that it's just amazing, because when you have already understood at the level of the mind the concept of oneness, then you use these tools and they are so powerful. I mean, I felt it when I started to say, you know what, the only thing that I can say right now is that I'm sorry for the conflict that you and this person are having. I can't. No, wait a moment.
I love you. Please forgive me. Sorry. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that's it. Exactly. But say it. But when you say it, you really say it like with intention to embrace that every conflict that they are that they are having, it's yours. It's yours. They are having an issue, a conflict, and it's coming at your door and it's fearful. So I started to say that to this person, that okay, I'm sorry for the conflict that you are having. Please forgive me for the part of myself that it's playing a role in this situation, because I don't even know what is my part on it, but it's in my front door. I mean, I'm seeing this and I'm feeling it. So I'm sorry, please forgive me for the part of myself that plays a role in this. I thank you. I love you because you are part of myself, and I thank you because you're showing me the parts of myself that needs to be integrated within me. And then I feel really at peace, and I feel really, well, this is Holy Spirit's doing. So I'm gonna let things happen, and I'm gonna send only love, both people in the conflict. And then I remember the fearful moment of that situation in that dream, and I said to myself, yes, I'm no longer afraid of the dark. I'm not afraid of the dark. And I'm not afraid of his darkness as well. So he can come to me with his darkness, and I'm not going to move back. I'm going to be there, and I'm going to hear, and I'm going to do my best to send love and to open the door for whatever I can do if the Holy Spirit wants me to do something. But I'm not longer afraid of the darkness, because when you have someone in your life that is experiencing such a hard time and you cannot do anything, you feel powerless and you feel like, my God, what is this happening? Why is this happening? This is really a bad thing. But then you said to yourself, and then you see this situation as part of yourself, and you just embrace it within you. You don't even have to know what part is really your role in it. You just have to embrace that it is your conflict that as well is a part of you, maybe not this life, but maybe in another life, or whatever you want to think of it. But it's a part of you that needs to be healed and embraced within yourself. That's why the voice was saying the other day, the reversion of thoughts comes from within.
May I?
Yeah, well.
The reversal of your thoughts definitely come from within.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's really helpful to have a mirror on the outside so that we can help turn those thoughts around. Sometimes it's hard to do it from the inside. And as the other person that you're talking about here, I can tell you it was an incredibly wonderful, peaceful thing that allowed me to look at the situation I was in with brand new eyes, and with the eyes of love, go back and edit my messages and send nice, peaceful, loving messages, rather than messages that were tinged with a little bit of blame, shame, and guilt. I'm using what I learned here to make my life better. And on a minute-by-minute basis, what happens here in the mornings helps me throughout the day. And it has been a miracle in my life, bringing peace to my children, the ones around me, and in my own life. So I really appreciate you, Adriana. You were with me when I needed you, and it was really a true blessing. So I see the God in you, and I really appreciate you seeing the God in me and showing me that maybe I deserve to think about myself a little better than I do. So, looking in the mirror, I can say, God is in everything I see. The idea for today explains why you can see all purpose in anything. It explains why nothing is separate by itself or in itself. And it explains why nothing you see means anything. In fact, it explains every idea we've used so far and all the subsequent ones as well. Today's idea is the whole basis for vision. As I'm reading through the purple book of A Course in Miracles for Dummies, Circle of Atonement edition, there's a bunch of footnotes. I'm going to jump into the footnotes real quick and see what I can learn here. Tom, I think their footnotes mirrors what you have in your book, closer than any lesson I've seen yet. My God, that first one. All right, there's a footnote behind. It explains why nothing is separate by itself or in itself. Yet what is by itself and what does in itself mean? These are like layers of flower petals that we're peeling back. And then the next line refers right back to the very first lesson, as the next sentence says. In fact, it explains every idea we've used thus far. So, I'll continue to read. You'll probably find this idea very difficult to grasp at this point. You may find it silly, irreverent, senseless, funny, and even objectionable. Certainly God's not at a table, for example, as you see it. Yet we emphasized yesterday that a table shares the purpose of the universe. Yes, we did. And what shares the purpose of the universe shares the purpose of the Creator. Hey, Torrance, welcome. There's a footnote there. It says, what we are seeing in the table then is God's purpose. We're seeing the table as there to serve God's purpose. And since God's purpose is one with Him, by seeing His purpose in the table, we are seeing God in the table. Try then today to begin to learn how to look on all things with love, appreciation, and open-mindedness. You do not see them now. Would you know what's in them? Nothing is as it appears to you. Its holy purpose stands beyond your little range. When vision has shown you the holiness that lights up the world, you will understand today's idea perfectly. And you will not understand how you could ever have found it difficult. Our 6 2-minute practice periods for today should follow a now familiar pattern. Begin with repeating the idea to yourself. God is in everything I see. Then apply it randomly to chosen subjects about you, naming each one specifically. Try to avoid the tendency towards self-directed selection, which may be particularly tempting in connection with today's idea because of its wholly alien nature. Remember that any order you impose is equally alien to reality. Your list of subjects, therefore, should be as free from self-selection as possible. For example, a suitable list might include, God is in this coat. God is in this magazine. God is in this finger. God is in this lamp. God is in that body. God is in this door. God is in this cup. In addition to the assigned practice periods, repeat the idea for today at least once an hour, looking slowly around you as you say the words unhurriedly to yourself. At least once or twice, you should experience a sense of restfulness as you do this. So, let's set up our 6 practice periods for today. It's 7:30 right now. We're going to do one of these right now. Let's pretend it's 8, and then we'll do another one at 10, noon, 2, 4, and 6 p.m., and that will give us 6 for the day. If you need a little pattern, do it once every 2 hours for yourself. If you've got a little app to help you out with reminders, now's a great time to set that up. I'm going to do mine right this second. Remind. God is in everything I see. I'm going to have that remind me every couple of hours. Okay.
May I add something?
Of
Just
course.
a small
Yeah.
note here. I found an app, and you all may have it already. It's called Mindfulness, and it's really cool because it has singing bowls and just all different types of singing bowls, and you may set a reminder at different intervals, whether it's 1 minute, 2 hours, however long. I think you can go up to 24 hours, I think, and maybe, I think so. And it's free. If you want, it's 2 basic bells that are free, but if you want all the bells, it's $199 for the annual subscription, which isn't much, and they're really cool sounding bells. And I found it to be really nice during my day, as I'm working. It wasn't
What was the name of it
too so.
again,
It's
Jenny?
called mindfulness, and it'll be a picture of a little singing bowl. So I just wanted to share that.
I have some thoughts about what we're doing this morning. God is in everything I see. Well, and that implies that God is probably in everything I don't see as well, and that in what I'm seeing only goes so far. And by telling us that God is in everything I see, that implies all of it. And if I keep looking in the right direction, I will see more of God in everything. Meaning, and for example, if something is just not going right, and I say God is in this situation, I will begin to see more and more of how God is in it. And as I see that, I will see the situation improve. I think it was Adriana who said something before. It might have been Louisa, and I don't know exactly which one. All you Colombians are just so much alike. And now, here I am drinking my Colombian coffee. I may see it, but I may not see it clearly. But my point was, there were people in a room, I think, and or maybe it was just a person, and we want to surround them with love, and we're keeping that thought going. And no matter what they're thinking, the sense of them having to face that there is love in what they're doing would be an appropriate prayer. And that gave up to me an image of one of my favorite superheroes, Wonder Woman, who has this golden lasso that if she throws that lasso around someone, they have to tell the truth. They can't lie. So I thought of a golden lasso of love, of throwing this golden lasso around someone who's really in a bad place, and pulling it tight and saying, it's all about love. Let's try and love what's going on in your mind. Let's try and see things differently. And Of course, Wonder Woman is just great. They said in a comic, some of you may have heard me say this. They were believing back in 1943, it was a Wonder Woman comic book, which I found on the top of a calendar, that they're hoping that there'll be a woman president in the United States within 1,000 years. That's the way it seemed in 1943. And there's a few women who have tried. They're getting closer and closer. And right now we've got someone really closer. But the whole idea here is that to put a lasso around people, a lasso of love, surround them with love. That's what my thought was. Now, I have one or two other thoughts. So, I think this is something off of something that Lee said. Unlike Las Vegas, what happens here in this morning doesn't stay here. We need to remember that, because it's easy to forget. We come here in the morning, we do our thing, it feels right, it's a good idea, but it's really helpful to have these different mindfulness or ACIM reminder. Both of them work great to remind us during the day, just something to tickle our memory back to the feelings that we have when we think about these kinds of things. Whether it's putting a golden lasso of love around someone or not saying something and just listening, sometimes that's what they need to hear. Our listening to them, meaning they need to see our listening to them with love. And then that helps them fix the problem too.
Can I say something about that specific part of your
And
sharing?
I'm finished. Yes,
Great,
because
great.
I'm finished.
It's true. It's true the analogy that you did about the lasso. It's a way to approach this kind of things. But what I found out last night is that when you try to do that and it doesn't work, because sometimes it works, sometimes you can just be loving to that person, and he or she can take it all in and just calm down. But if it doesn't work, and you just have to listen, of course you just listen and the person can figure out. But then you go in your own space and you are with that feeling like, well, I could have done better. What should I have been doing with this? Should I do something? And the only thing that I could figure out that could be helpful, but it worked, was going within myself and acknowledge that it was my conflict as well, that what they are doing to each other was my conflict. So I needed to take it within, and that's why I'm connecting the dots with the deep down voice that said that the reversion of thoughts comes from within. Because I did that last night. It's funny how all things connect to each other. I mean, if it wasn't for Tom's sharing, I couldn't have bring back the memory of these two situations with this dark voice and things like that. And this happened last night, and the only thing that I could do was saying to myself, this is yours, Adriana. You cannot change his mind even if you are pouring all your love on him. He will not change his mind. He wants you to shut up and listen. It's because this is mine. No. This is mine as well. It's mine as well. And I needed to listen because I needed to take it within me and release it from within me without any attachment to the outcome outside. Because the outcome outside is not my doing. It's not my doing. It's only myself. This happened to me in the past and I haven't seen it before, and I know, now I know because of what we are talking about, that it is always like that. It is always like Yes, of course, you can pour love on everybody when they have an issue or a conflict, yeah, and that could work. But if it doesn't work, what do? You can just stay with the sadness and let it go and say, okay, well, it's not my problem, and turn your head around and move forward with your life. But you could also, and probably is the best way to help, take it within you. How that conflict is a part of yourself. So if you force yourself, this is why this course is so strict in the idea that the that the that in duality the love is conditional. The love is conditioned to the absence of fear. The unconditional love only exists in the source, only lies within the source. And that's why we need to practice constantly the righteous mind, like the vertical thought, going to God always. Because only there is the unconditional love. So if you maintain your vertical thoughts towards God, you will be able to expand it in an horizontal way of thinking through space and time. There's no other way. And that comes from within. That comes when you thought it's aligned with the higher power, then you go up and then you expand the love horizontally. That is like the whole symbolism of a cross, if you want to say it like that, because it opens your heart. It opens your heart. When you take the conflict within yourself and you take responsibility, not by saying like you're guilty, because you are not guilty, you are just numb or asleep. But when you take this, the course from now on, I'm guessing that this course will get us into more difficult situations, probably, to challenge our minds. This is the
Yeah,
marathon of the mind,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
So we have to take this really like a consistent, practice, because in the past you have been experiencing all of these things, but you didn't realize it, and now you have the tool, and now you have this, and there's no way around it. You have to pursue the non-dualistic mindset in order to expand the love and see miracles and see the change in your life. So this is a strict course, but it's easy because it's just a thought away. You don't have to do anything with your body. I mean, you can do things with your body, of course, to experience it, but it's really a thought away, asking help, maintain your open mind with questions instead of giving your answers from the knowledge that you had from the past, looking life with curiosity, keeping your thoughts going up, 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 the highest that you can to seek inspiration, right? So it's always helpful to use the lasso analogy, because it is helpful. But when it does not help, when that doesn't help, you need to take it within yourself and change it within yourself, because it's a part of you that needs to be acknowledged. How that problem is related to a part of you in the past, or your feelings about anything. So I wanted to share that because I'm really connecting so many dots right now. I'm sorry to take that
I
long,
think you're
but I think
absolutely
it
right.
was
This is
beautiful.
our first kind of big speed up, and this is where we're jumping in. The lesson says it too. This is kind of taking what we've done over the last 29 days and realizing that we don't know what anything's for, because God's in there, and God's bigger than us, and it's bigger than what our brain can really take. So all we have to do is relax and let it be revealed to us. And Janine, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think I found the app that you were talking about, Mindfulness Bell.
You did. That was actually,
Okay.
yes, mindfulness bell. I left the
Yeah.
bell part off.
The
Perfect.
bell was bothering me. I couldn't find the bell, but that water hint was definitely the trick. And I use
Sorry about
Insight
that.
Timer. It uses a very, very similar bell.
Oh,
And I
great.
do find that really peaceful as well. It's
Yes.
a Tibetan singing bowl kind of bell. And fortunately, I've got one here we can use as well. So my singing bowl is pretty old and dented, but
Describe the singing bowl. Most people, many might not have seen one, so
Oh, that's a beautiful one.
Beautiful sound.
I'd like to share an experience that I have.
go ahead.
I'm having.
okay.
So, I so I'm particularly honed in on my aspect, Bob, for the past couple days. Um, when I come in this room, um, I'm really relating to the things that he's saying, and I recognized that in previous rooms I was not, and now I recognize why. And he gave it's because my father was named Bob, and not wanted to see my aspect Bob, the the Bob that I used to know. He passed away pretty recently, but that,
Wow.
and then I have a dear friend that calls God Bob. He uses the name Bob when he speaks of God. And that past Bob was my God. I mean, he was my father. I mean, he was all that I knew. Um, he was strong and he was handsome and he was all of these things. And then I felt that he didn't really love me at some point. And so, there was a rejection, and that was my
Oh.
aspect, because God, my God, Bob, was very, he actually really did love me, but he didn't know how to, he wanted me to do things his way because he knew they were best. And I understand that, being a mother now. And yet I've relinquished the control. But I'm super, super relating to Bob. And when he was speaking about coffee, it may sound very simple, but when he spoke about his Colombian women in the room, I was, he didn't say his, but I'm saying our Colombian women. And I visioned looking into the Colombian coffee and seeing my reflection back. It really did, wrap it up for me right then and there, that yeah, we see things separate. And then it
Exactly.
was
That's
so
amazing.
obvious.
What
It
you're
came
sharing
so
is
quick to
amazing.
me, Adriana. And Bob, 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 Bob.
Our
I,
How many
Bob, our
Robertas do we
Bob.
need?
It's
I love
amazing.
you,
This
Bob.
Bob, yeah, we love Bob. We all love Bob. It's
I do.
amazing.
And I
Me
love
too.
his authenticity, and his he definitely brings his experience, and I hear him and I have the same relationships. And you know and I yeah, I'm very open to Bob. I'm very open to God. I'm very open to the God Bob God, and all that now. Anyway, that was my experience this morning.
Oh
And
my God! Oh my God! Oh my God! Thank you, everybody. It's so kind of all of you. I wanted to say, after Adriana talked about the lasso, that in order to throw the lasso, Wonder Woman has to be connected to the lasso. And so that's how we all are one. We can listen sometimes, and we can speak sometimes, and we can hope that they can feel the love that we're sending. These are the kinds of things that I just um, spent a lot of time thinking about as I grew up. Um, I My father was a very loving man, and when we talk about our fathers, I have always felt that most people, I've never done a survey, that most people come to an understanding, an initial understanding of what God is like, based on based on the way their father was. to them in life. And we always have the choice to say it is like this or it's not like this. But I think that it's an automatic thing because that's the guy, that's the it that is guiding us mostly. Now, in many cases, it's the mother doing that, and that's good also. And I know Tom likes to use the phrase "Father, Mother, God," and it's for that reason because if you grew up with a benevolent kind of dad, um, then you have a very positive sense of what God is. If the opposite of that is true, then that other kind of God is a vengeful God. And many people have had that experience, unfortunately. So, whatever you came into your um, adulthood believing about God, as we now study A Course in Miracles, we learn that God, more than anything else, is pure love.
Bob, I'd
That's
like
it.
to say something that just in this room, just here, just now, I
Is it just between
received.
you and me, Andy?
Well, there's a major connection right now happening because
Go for
you're,
it.
yeah, Bob God for sure. You represent Bob God, and I have to tell you that right here and right now, what I recognized was that mm, my perception is completely different of Bob God right here and right now because it was it, it seems strict and harsh and horrific at times, but I know he was honestly, he how could he not have loved? He just wanted it his way. He was afraid also, and I recognize that. But I've completely released him from, or released myself from the separation from him, just here and now. And I really see that love. That really is important for me. I just wanted you to know that. But I want everybody to know that.
It's wonderful.
Michael, good morning. I thought you wanted to come up, but please just flash your mic or let us know if you want to share something because I I I pull you up because you raised your hand. So we are here to hear you.
And may I just jump in real quick? Andy, I experienced the healing through what you said. And tears were rolling. They're still coming down, actually. When you said that about your father, um, and how you didn't think he loved you, or something like that, you said. And I had that same, of course, I know my dad loved me. And just now, I just released that whole, I don't want to go into a long, long story because I could about it. But
Yeah, because you released it. You
yeah,
released the story.
well, no, I mean, to share with y'all um, about everything with my dad, but I'm not as, Adriana is a wonderful storyteller. I love how you share your stories. They're so beautiful and healing. And I'm learning, I'm actually a better writer than I am speaker because I tend to get lost in my thoughts as I'm speaking, but I'm a much better writer. But anyhow, yeah, I was holding this, there was something there I was holding on to about my dad with the whole, just the relationship that we had and thinking that he didn't love me. And of course, I had this image of him, like you said, he was handsome and amazing and strong. But there was this thing going on with us. But I did learn, Bob, about God through my dad. And it was through nature that he taught me how to love God. And I would garden with him. That's how I learned about gardening. And we'd be in the garden, and he'd always speak of the beauty of nature. And so maybe that is how, and that's something else that came through this morning that, wow, um, maybe that's why I'm so open. And my mom said I was always a natural spiritual person, even as a little girl. And that's my first memories of learning about God.
This is why I love these when when we share these very deep, intimate feelings, and sometimes it feels well. I don't feel afraid to share anymore about any of it, but I used to. But this is why they're helpful. They help me and you at the same time, and anyone that hears it or that feels that it's for them. And so I'm so I have gratitude for that.
Me
I
too, as
got
well. And I wanted to say to Adriana also about your sharing earlier. That was very healing. How the words you use, was that the oh, I forget how you say it. I've heard it before. Omanapana or something like
Opono, opono, pono. It's a Hawaiian tradition. In
that.
fact, it's part
Yeah,
of the
I
Hawaiian
cannot
culture.
like Omanapana.
I've heard it. I just
We can do our own version.
I know because I heard it before and I don't remember, but that was
Yeah,
very good for conflict. I love
it's
that. Thank you.
it's like a really. I found that tool so powerful now that I really really embrace the concept of oneness, because without part of the oneness, you could say the words and it could be probably powerful, but when you have the knowledge of the oneness, I mean, when you really true experience like this day to day sense that everything is your and everything is one, and we are one with God, this tool is really really powerful to ease your feelings, to ease your fears, and to do a little bit of miracles as well, because in fact it's really powerful and you can apply it to anything, even if it is not a person. If you're like, I don't know, you're
Yeah,
having something with
I
your car is
know.
broken.
It's so beautiful. If you
Yeah,
don't
it's
mind,
powerful.
would you back channel me the name and I will look it
Okay,
up and
I
find
will.
it. Thank
Of
you
course
so
I will.
much. Thank
Okay.
you.
And I want to say that this whole idea of our father or our mother is because our father and our mother are our first analogy of our relationship with God. So if I only can speak for myself, but when this friend, that was so powerful for me, when this friend came to me and gave me or showed me the Course in Miracles, it was because she told me, it was this phrase like, no, Adriana, you haven't understand. Your father is not dead. And I was, yeah, of course he died in 1999 and I was 16 years old. And then she said, no, Adriana, you haven't understand. He is not dead. He is you. And my mind, it was so powerful moment. I really had to like go back and say, oh my God, I felt like my brain blew up and I started to connect so many things. And I said, of course, how dumb I have been all my life. This is so, so true. I am him and he is me. I mean, him is God. I mean, my father is God. My relationship with God was all wrong because I was trying to get connected through the level of the form, but I never thought about my mind and my feelings. So I was trying to have this experience of spirituality among all these techniques and things that gives you physical experiences that are of course powerful, but this single thought really changed my world. And the course is powerful because of that, because it goes directly to the source of everything, the one single source, that it's your attachment or relationship to God. So it's powerful and beautiful. Then there's no way your mind will go back to the way it was before, because it's mathematically incorrect. I mean, it's so accurate, this thought process, that you cannot go back. Once you really understand that everything you hated in some part of your life is yourself, is your kind of relationship with God, then you cannot see any conflict, even if you don't have anything to do with it. as something separate from yourself. You always try, your mind will always try to, okay, how should I embrace this? How should I do this? And you stop doing answers or giving statements about things, and you begin to ask more questions within yourself, and the information and the mind starts to open like pathways to different solutions, because the world is like nature has everything that we need, and it doesn't have to do anything to be like that, because it's the abundance of God. You don't have to say like this flower should be like that, and God will know what flower should be better for whatever reason in the ecosystem is. And you just have to be open to question, to the higher source, and watch yourself in that relationship among every relationship that you have right now. And the first relationship that you have in terms of this analogy was your parents, the way you have come to this world and the way they treated you is just a learning lesson. There's no way that you can feel fear anymore about it, because it's just a learning lesson to go back home. I
You
don't
know
know.
what? Even to ask, like my father who's passed from this physical experience, even to ask him. So one time, I don't know how it got presented to me, but it was presented to me to imagine myself sitting in a chair and Jesus sitting straight across from me and ask him questions. I'll get the higher answer, and absolutely works. And then I was thinking, why can't, you know what? I can do this with my dad. I was just thinking this. I'm going to actually do this with my dad. I'm going to ask him, because I think at this point he'd give me the highest answer.
That's great. I'm glad that we all connect the dots here.
Michael, were you going to say something a little while ago? I guess not. I do want to add one more thing. My wife and I, Susie and I, went to a beautiful, huge cathedral called York Minster Cathedral, which is in England. Up in York, England, many, many years ago. And we were on a tour. It was a bus tour around England. And when we got there, the rest of the team went somewhere else, the rest of the group that we were with. But we went in to see this York Minster Cathedral. And we came in like about 5 minutes to 5 or something like that. And the lady at the front said, "I'm sorry, but all the tours are finished for today. It's past the hour. It's past the time that we start tours." And I said, "Oh my gosh, I really want to see this. I'm an architect, and my wife is an interior designer, and she teaches art, and we're really fascinated by this." And I complained, yeah, whatever. And there was a man standing to the side who heard me, and he had the longest mustache I've ever seen. I don't know how he managed to speak, but I remember that. And he said, he came over, he says, "I'm a guide. I'll take you on a special tour just for you." And so like it changed my whole viewpoint of everything in this land and in the church. And he said, "Come on with me." So we started to walk, and I can't tell you most of what I saw. I remember visions, but the one part that fascinated me was that particular cathedral had 4 different foundations. And he took us down into what they call, oh gosh, what's the word? There's a word for it, and it's not coming to me right now, but we went down into this belly of the church, so to speak, and we saw another foundation. He said that's when one group of people built their church on this holy site, and that was between something like 800 and 1200. And then we went down through that into another foundation, just a bunch of concrete walls and things. He said, catacombs, that was the word I was looking for. We went further and saw even a deeper foundation that was done by some people that we normally think of, as crazy people. I say we, I'm just saying it. And then all the way back to the Roman period, that particular site, which was quite high up in elevation, so to speak, and then there's this great cathedral built on it. They all went there for some reason, each of them in their own religious way of thinking or their own spiritual way of thinking, sought to put their foundation on that site. And it made me think, oh my God, so many different religions and ways of thinking are seeing the same place and maybe even the same vision that was first seen when the first group decided to place their first church there. It's a fascinating thing, and what I'm excited is that so many of you folks now, many more, because Lee and Adriana and Tom basically decided let's open this up, let's get more people sharing, because frankly, yesterday I mentioned something about 12-step groups. When you go into an AA room, Alcoholics Anonymous, or Overeaters Anonymous, or Gamblers Anonymous, it doesn't matter. When you're in this little group, might be 3 people, might be 23, it might be 100, sitting around a table or sitting in an audience setup, the one thing that gets your attention, especially if you have a problem with gambling, for example, is somebody gets up there and tells you their story. And their story is terrible. And they did this and they did that, and they ended up on the street, and then it got worse and it got worse, and then it got better for a little while, but they went back and started gambling again, and they tell their story, and it's really nasty sometimes. Because I've been in a lot of different open 12-step group rooms, so you can go into an open one and you can listen to. They don't have any problem telling their story. They don't have any problem being really honest about the things that they're talking about. And that is what grabs you. You see that honesty and you say, oh my God, that's worse than anything I ever experienced. Maybe I'm not so bad off as I thought. Maybe this thing will work. And that's how we really influence people, by simply being honest and loving. Well, what else do we want in life? I want people around me that are honest and loving and not afraid to tell the truth, even when it goes counter to what was being said. So what I'm hearing is so many different ways that you're sharing, everybody's sharing, and I love that sharing. I love sharing because I remember the first time I heard it, it was from someone who said, I want to share this with you. And I said, share? What the hell are you talking about? And then he just started talking, so I thought he could have just said, I want to tell you something. No, it's not the same, because sharing means I'm saying or telling a story, but it's meant to be shared. It's meant to somehow influence you to see a better way of doing things that I have found without saying that over and over. Just being the love and being the person that is sharing themselves and taking their time with you. That's what makes a difference. And you listen to people like that. And we all learn from people like that. So thank you all for sharing with me this morning, because I'm going to keep coming back to this room. It certainly makes me feel good. So thank you, everybody.
You are
Thank
the
you.
Bob that everybody needs in its life, in his life. So
And thank you, Bob.
I'm, yeah, thank you. Yeah,
You're
thank
welcome.
you. You are the Bob of everybody here.
Nah, I'm just a thingamabob.
And I wanted to say I visited the catacombs, Bob, and had an experience there with the group I was with. It was actually me and another member that went there, and it was when I think that was kind of my introduction to the spirit world and recognizing that's real. When I was down in one of the lower levels, I just passed my hand through one of the open places where someone had been buried. And I didn't think about it. We were just walking by, and there was the tour guide talking. And we went to the larger open area. You were probably in there with a larger tomb. And I was in the corner of the room, and I became, it's hard to put into words, overcome almost to I wanted to cry. I just wanted to sob. And I'm talking a group of maybe 20 people were in the room, and I didn't want to stand in the corner sobbing, because it just hit me, and I didn't know what to do about it. And I kind of sucked it down and didn't do it. And when we came up into the upper cathedral, a gentleman who was also part of our group was there, and he was turned, and he was sobbing, and he had a similar experience, the same experience I was having, and we talked about it. And I later wrote about it, and recognizing that a spirit was there and had communicated with me and touched me. So very, very powerful experience in the catacombs in Italy.
I've also experienced that. And I wanted to share, I lived in Germany, and so I got to do a lot of that type of looking, going, and we did a lot of tours like that as well. And but I will say too, I also went to not Auschwitz, but a different concentration camp, and I had that experience where, while we were doing a self tour and reading our way through it, and we got to this place where it was like a sick bay, where when the people got really sick and weak, and um, so hopefully this doesn't trigger anybody, but um, uh, but then there was like they showed there was like a wall where they would execute, and we were out there, and I really didn't want to go, but my husband was like, we've got to go, and I'm like, I really don't want to bring myself into that, but I'm glad I did, in a really weird way. Listen to this and check this out. It was really crazy, but I was in there, and I felt all that overcome me as well. And I was like, oh my goodness, I don't know. Like, for some reason, I felt I like, well, I have a way of being able to be, you know, like to really feel through every character, I guess, which is good too. And yeah, there's some things like when we first came in and Bob was talking about a thought that he had, or something about, it was a really dark thought, and then I thought I had just had one before I came into the room, so and I thought that was a really funny that I came in and that he was talking about that, because I was like, gee, where'd that come from, that thought. Anyway, bringing us back, so on this tour, and so my husband was taking a lot of pictures, and I had that feeling, and I told him, "Oh, this is really a heavy, heavy, heavy feeling for me right now in here, really heavy." And I said, I have to pray." So I started to pray for any heaviness to, lift and go where it needed to go, because I felt like I needed to release that from myself. It must be. So I did that. And then we got home, and we put all of our pictures on the computer like we always did. And we were looking through them. And one of the pictures, it was my husband took a picture of the place where they would go, the incinerator. And there was American soldiers standing around the incinerator, because it was right when they had taken they had actually taken a picture of that. um, so when we were reading about it, that's what was in the picture. The American soldiers were standing around the incinerator guarding it. And that's when they first, went into the camp. This was in Flossenburg, and all of the village people said that, they none of them knew about it, they said. and they would burn bodies and everything. So, and it was a working camp. Like, these people would go out and they would put all those little pavers down on all the sidewalks that you see in Europe or in Germany, in certain areas. That's how they put them to work. But you know what? This picture popped up, and guess what? It was the weirdest thing. I was like me, a translucent me was standing inside like at the bottom. They would roll the body down this little ramp, and I was down in that ramp in the picture, and I'm like, what the heck? Oh my God, and it was really shocking at first. And then I felt this whole like heaviness again, because I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm in the incinerator. And what it really, because I was like, how did this happen? How did this happen? What's going on? And my husband's like, oh wow, I took a picture of the picture, and you must have been in the reflection. And that's exactly where I ended up, was right down in that incinerator. It was the weirdest experience, but I had to share that. It just was crazy, but dark. And then it was all like really good. I'm like really happy that I did have the experience in that.
It's wonderful.
This
I
happens.
like to.
Hi, Michelle. No, you go ahead. You go ahead, Michelle. Good
Hello.
morning.
I like to share something. I'm in a bit of an upset, and I'm upset that I'm upset that I allow my anger and frustration to lead. Like, when I'm upset, like, I'll say, oh, I just need to lay down. And then it stops me from doing, well, I allow it to stop me to um, participate in other things or do what I need to do. Or I'm up here visiting my mom, but it's like, okay, I just need to clear my mind. I need to lay down this, taken away from other precious things that I could do. I'm a coach in a program, and I have, just to tell you a brief part of it, I have several participants. And one of my participants was doing an assignment, and I told her she didn't pass. She's one of my best participants, but I just knew that there was more in her. I didn't realize that somehow it impacted her the way it did. And then a couple of late, I mean, sometime later in our coaching session, she was like lashing out at me with different things. And I was sharing with her how some of her behavior with me was inappropriate and unacceptable. Anyway, she reported me to the head coach and, all kind of other stuff. And I just felt like, and there were things that she was saying to me that, um, how she felt, but I didn't really get that it was coming from the place because I told her that she didn't pass, and she later revealed that to me. Um, but I just felt, I know it's my ego so unappreciated because I give my heart when I coach, and, the world of that. And I just felt so misunderstood, even the people that she complained to. Due to the fact that I was in an upset, it's just, I don't know, but I just don't like how I can't let things go or really see the lesson in it, or find God in the situation, because I just allow my mind, I haven't mastered how to be in another space or to find the gold.
You are not alone. It's a hard thing to do, and on a minute-by-minute basis, I have to reapply myself. And it is a struggle sometimes, but it's not impossible. And the more you do it, the easier it gets. And you've got support now in a whole new way that none of us had before. So we're here for you to lean on. I talked to you yesterday. It was great. We're really happy to check in with you. So I certainly am here. I'm open. Would love to talk and check in with people throughout the day. But I'm looking to make this year different from the last years when I've done this coursework. I'm jumping in as deep as I ever have before, and I welcome you to come with me and get what you can. We're here one time, so let's make the most of it. that we
I
know of?
wanted to respond to Michelle, if I may. I do that same thing. I lay down. I take a nap when I'm when I'm upset that I'm upset, kind of thing. And just very recently, I'll go into questioning myself and also being kind to myself and gentle and loving myself in that moment and kind of talking to the little girl inside of me and saying it's okay. It's okay that you're upset. And and when I do that, I soften, and then I'm able to go into the situation more objectively. Of course, talking to God to help me through, and then the answer will come is how to help my thinking. I think through um, how I got to that space, and I can always trace back to the origin of I was thinking this in that moment, and that spiraled me to this particular place. And then it just kind of unravels and dissolves, and I just feel happy again. And but it's been a journey. It's a process, and like Lee said, it's a day by day thing for sure. But definitely to love yourself in those moments when you just have to lay down sometimes, and it's okay.
Yeah.
Exactly. We
Can I
and
share?
yeah. Oh,
Oh,
hi, Dr. Natalie. Go ahead.
this reminds me of someone I was working with yesterday. And this is for Michelle. She was upset. And again, guys, I do teach A Course in Miracles as a practice in my practice. So I don't force people to go to exercises, but I incorporate it. They don't know it. So I had a young lady who kept getting upset. And I used the scenario as the anger or the feeling of negativity as an alarm to a deeper picture. Every time you are in any form negative, allow that to be the drawing tool to look deeper as to what's really going on, or the big picture, as we call it. So she was upset, and we took the time to ask the body. I mean, we even identified where it was physically in the body. Her being upset manifested pain and inflammation in her muscles. So we asked, what is the big picture here? What am I suppressing? What do I need to see in this situation? And immediately, after she stopped listening to her ego, it was fear of being out of control. And that kind of led to the rabbit hole for self discovery. And once she realized she wasn't really upset at the situation, it was she couldn't control it. When she relinquished her rights to control the situation, she no longer saw that, she actually could see and visualize and create peace. And that's what it took, looking at negativity as an alarm to lead you to go deeper. And that's a tool that I've learned and start practicing in dealing with anything negative. So thank you guys. And you guys are so amazing. I think I found my tribe. It's like, wow, you guys are weird like me. It's amazing.
It's amazing.
I am
Really.
so happy.
You're
And I'm so
welcome.
glad you mentioned that, Dr. Natalie, because I have always, like, with this course, with the Course in Miracles, like
Hmm.
the ego tends to get like this kind of thing that could be another form of fear. I mean, the ego, in the way that the course approaches it, seems like something to be scared of, but in fact, it's not something to be scared of because the ego is a compass. It's like a compass.
Hmm.
So the ego, the only thing that our egos are trying to point at us is the parts of our conscious that are not integrated into the
Hmm.
oneness. So it's some kind of there's some kind of system there that is showing you through fear, sense of fears or anger or whatever negative emotion that you can have. It's teaching you where to look, where to move, where to grab the learning. For instance, in my mind, for my process, I don't say that this should be for everybody, but for my process, for my mind and my body and my being, in order to feel like at ease, my mind needs to understand the concepts of everything that is going on around a conflict. And if I cannot get around it and I still feel like this annoyance or anger, I had to just release my ego, let it express itself in order for me to have more feedback from the outside. So I can learn the information that I have not been able to see before. This is the example that I did a few lessons ago when I think it was Janine or I don't remember who was it that asked that the ego, that if the ego can be like used for some good or something, I don't remember, but it's just that I did use my ego once to just grab more information from the outside in order for me to understand what was bothering me, because I had a situation that I really could understand that it wasn't bothering me because of the specific things that were happening, but it was like it was pointing at something that it was deep into my mind that I haven't been able to see. So I couldn't come around it by myself, so I had to just let my ego go with the Holy Spirit's blessing, and I attacked the other person, that it was my ex-husband, of course. Poor guy, he's as holy as me. So I went after him, and I totally could see in his reaction that it was, of course, another defense or attack situation. His reply to me had the information that took me back to the moment when my dad died, the last day that I saw my dad, that we have a specific situation that it was really the same kind of feeling that this new conflict was bringing into my table. So it's wonderful that you said that to Michelle, because it's really that if your mind can't let go the discomfort, it's because it's trying to teach you something. It's a compass, but you don't have to force it. You just have to be sure and be confident that in some way of sharing that kind of perception, the answer will come back to you, even if it is in the level of the form, through some other situation or within your mind. If you ask like help within a prayer or a meditation, the mind can be open to find some other information that you weren't able to see before. So the ego is not something that we should look like with a fearful eye, because it is a compass. Well, it's my it's my experience with my own ego. So I wanted to share that.
And I wanted to add, Dr. Natalie, how you're right, the whole body thing, because our bodies store emotion. And have you ever been, or I don't know if anybody ever been in a conversation, and you might say something to a person that sounds, your face might say, oh, I'm in agreement, or you're okay with something, and you realize later, why am I tense? Maybe you'll have tension in your shoulders, or in your stomach, and because your body will hold emotion, and it'll hold the truth of the emotion sometimes, even if we don't think we're feeling a certain way. I've found for myself, and I've found that I've even like cried on the yoga mat in certain poses, because there was a release in a certain part of my body. My body was telling me that I was holding on to emotion, and that gave me information. Um, Somehow, I guess there's this mind body connection I find very interesting. And that's why I think movement is also so important, to help us release, and to send us cues about our thinking, and tension and fears, like our body will hold on to fear sometimes. So I think I love how you put that, Dr. Natalie. I know that's the more you said it so well.
My prayer has been, Lord, let me, over the last couple of days, we've been dealing with seeing. I want to see people's bodies differently. I don't want to see a egoic prognosis. I want to see a cosmic, Lord, I don't even have the words to explain it, but it's been let me see. Remember, guys, how I said yesterday, the map, I could see the outer layer, it glowed. I've been asking, and it has been working. I've been having these uh, 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 I can't explain upper realm experiences, seeing inside of people. I know that sounds so weird,
No,
guys. I
that's a
can't figure
medical.
out. I don't
That's
know the
called
words.
that's called a medical intuitive.
Okay, in a
Dr. Natalie, when
sense,
you're, yep, when you
yeah.
are in that space, you are
Oh,
totally
gosh.
intuitive. Yep, and the answers are
Oh,
coming to you, and
it
I am so
is.
happy to hear this.
I can
Yes, because we need
diagnose.
you.
I can
Oh, yes.
see inside. It comes. It's like I can. Oh, it's so. And that's why I said, Lord, y'all are weird like me. I can literally
Yes.
hear and it's part of the visualization. But the deal is how I got there is I had a desire to see God. I was driving, and you got to realize I've came out of traditional organized religion, and I've embraced the cosmic whole me, the new me. So I was basing seeing and hearing and experiencing God from that old mindset. So I'm driving in my car. I look up at the clouds and I said, God, I want to see you. And nothing happened. I got so upset because I was like, I'm moving in these realms, and you're supposed to be so real. I want to see you. And then I quieted down as I was driving, and he just spoke and said, "You're looking with the wrong eyes. Change eyes. I'm in you. The vision that you want to see, it's coming from within." So as I drove, it's almost like I went inside of myself. I allowed the inner me, the inner eyes to come forward, and I could see him in the clouds. The color of the clouds changed, but I had
As
to embrace the internal me. It was, I have no words for this stuff, guys. That's why I'm like, wow.
Yep.
it's really funny because it's wonderful to hear these great stories. And I something that someone said earlier made me think of. I got it. I think it was Adriana about this ego thing. Okay, so how do we find out whether this is my ego or whether this is God talking through me or the Holy Spirit talking through me? And it occurred to me, somebody said something about looking at a mirror. So if I look at a mirror, I see an impression or a reflection of my body. But the ego is like lost in a hall of mirrors at a carnival. And the reflection that you see then when you're in your ego and the way the ego sees everything is 14 different reflections of you upside down, inside out, fat, tall, skinny, full of mud, whatever. It's amazing how it wants to see everything except what is really there. And that's what the Hall of Mirrors does. And when we're in our ego, that's what we're seeing. When we all, and all of you are beautifully talking about seeing something that's more than anything you ever saw before, it's when we get out of this Hall of Mirrors that convolutes everything we see, and we just see life as it is. And what it is what today's lesson is. And that is, I want to see, well, God is in everything I see. It even means he was in all those mirrors that was in the hall of mirrors, except we couldn't figure out what to be looking at. And so if we just stop, sometimes that's the first thing to do. If we're talking too much, we stop If we're listening to someone harass us, we don't harass back. We just be quiet until we see God coming through and giving us the kind of thought that is loving. Then we know it's coming from the right place. This brings us back, for me, to Lee. If you want to finish off the way we've been finishing off, I think everybody will enjoy that too.
I would like to share one short thing before Lee closes, if possible. I don't know.
Yes,
Can we?
Of course.
yes, Lee,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
go.
Well, the whole conversation, I'm loving it. The whole conversation just brings me to the final story I would like to share with you that I'm sure, pretty sure most of you know the story of the guy who was, his city started to, there was a flood, and he was praying to God, and he was saying like, oh God, help me. And then the water started to come higher and higher, and then he sees, I think it was, I don't know, the first thing was a boat coming with people, and he was like, no, and so he started climbing higher, and then, oh God, help me. And then it was a trunk of something from a tree, and then no, and then he started climbing and climbing, and the water was higher and higher, and he was really going into the flood, and he was like, oh God, help me. And then an helicopter passed by, and they, come, and he said, no, and he was waiting for God, and then all of a sudden he died, of course, and he came to the heaven, and God said, what are you here? And he said, oh, I was praying to you when you didn't come. I said, I sent you a boat, I sent you a tree, I sent you an helicopter, and you didn't listen, you didn't see me. So yeah, I just wanted to share that story because
I
God is
love that
everywhere.
story.
We just don't want to. Yeah, this is a very old story, but maybe I didn't tell it right, but I just told the whole idea. So
That's good enough.
yeah, I wanted to share that. Thank you. I'm done speaking.
That makes sense. Yeah.
I'm kind of lovely. I'm going to let you speak, but I wanted to ask Michelle. I feel really compelled to share with Michelle if she wants to in a room after we end this one, because I have a share about the dark seed of my soul and my behavior and some disappointment and how I handle my own disappointment. What do you think, Michelle?
I would love to, but are you going to have to navigate me how I go to a private room because I'm new
Well,
to.
I'll wave to you just before we close, so don't go
Okay,
off.
I'll just
Don't.
stay in.
Yeah,
Perfect.
once I wave, you just answer that yellow wave that pops up, okay?
Awesome. Thank you. And thank you, everybody. Grateful to be part of this group.
No problem at all. Everybody's welcome. I'm glad we can support each other. Boy, it's something I needed in my life. I'm really grateful you're here. What I
I
wanted
was
to do
going to
was lead us in.
share.
Sure, go ahead, Michael. Hey.
Hey, Lee. I was going to share before when someone, I think Janine, made a beautiful statement about Bob that your curation of this has really held the space as well, and so I was thankful to you. Maybe the same, going through some of the same stuff, and the same age group as me. I really resonated with the fact that you're able to do this every morning and hold it together and be in service, despite adversity. So appreciate that, and wanted to compliment you there as well. And Bob, you know how I feel. We're doing some great things in the world together, and I appreciate it. So thanks, guys.
It's a pleasure
Thanks,
to have you
Michael.
here, Michael.
It sure is. So many good memories, so many good thoughts, so much sharing. Sharing is really the one thing we need to do is to share our love with other people. And it's catching. And maybe this is catching on. So, Lee, back to you.
All right. How about we do our lesson together? We're going to do maybe the first of 6 2-minute practice periods for today. So repeat the idea to yourself. God is in everything I see. And look around your room and let your eyes fall on the items around your room and repeat this to yourself. God is in everything you see. Try to avoid the tendency towards self-directed selection, which can be tempting. Remember that any order that you impose is equal alien to reality. Your list of subjects should therefore be as free of self-selection as possible. For example, a suitable list might include God is in this coat, God is in this magazine, God is in this finger, this lamp, that body, that door, God is in that cup. So, I'll give us a couple of minutes to be quiet. Take a minute to realize God is in everything you see.
God is in Tom. God is in Lee. God is in Bob. God is in Janine. God is in Luisa. God is in Abner. And God is in Andy. God is in Dr. Natalie. God is in Michelle. God is in Michael. God is in Dragana. God is in
Celia.
Celia. God is in Tricia. And God is in David. And God is in Adriana.
When I actually when I did this exercise, I I couldn't focus on any one thing, but I had a feeling in me, a physical. I felt a physical sensation. It was very full. Yeah, it was a good fullness. Just thought I'd share that. I couldn't have a focus.
That's okay. That's why we're doing 6 of them. Gives you a chance to practice. And another chance, another chance, another chance. And so we'll keep practicing.
Oh, I mean, I see God in everything. But it felt like a fullness because you want to kind of hone in on something. I just want to tell
Yeah.
Michelle she has to follow me for me to wave at her, I guess. So I think that I won't be able to wave unless that happens. So
I just did it.
okay.
Thanks.
Thank you, Andy. Thanks, Michelle. Adriana, thank you for verbalizing that. It was wonderful.
You guys, how do you remember how your mind will want to pick and choose? How do you diffuse that? How do you
Oh, that's good.
stop it from me picking the broom that's in the corner with my own interpretation, even my own interpretation of what I think God would say? How do
I got a
you?
couple of tricks.
Okay.
I got a couple of tricks. My trick is to sit inside in my office chair and it spins, and that way I can keep my eyes steady and let them just light on the thing that is in front of me. And it takes away my own choice a little bit. It enables me to kind of suspend my belief long enough to just let something pick up, like Venetian blinds. What is that thing? I guess it's a wreath. I got a wreath with Christmas lights on it in front of me. I've got a painting. I've got a kitchen island. I've got a stove. I've got a daughter. I've got a chair. I've got a fireplace. I've got a blizzard. Something to help you automate your images a little bit.
And if you happen to think at the moment that you select, quote unquote, something, oh no, I selected it, I did this wrong, just say, okay, God, tell me what you wanted me to know about this rather than my deciding that I did it. And let it just be your choice and God's choice. We're trying to learn something. And when you learn something in the very beginning, you have to break it apart to teach it to other people. And so we learn to break some things down and we learn to build some other things up. But we're all heading towards love, loving ourselves, loving everything we see. That's the goal.
Don't be afraid to start over. You're not doing anything wrong if you have to start over. You're not doing anything wrong if you can't start over. Not doing anything wrong if you're waiting for the next lesson time. So set yourself a reminder today. We did our 8 o'clock one. Try and do one at 10, at noon, 2, 4, and 6. And we'll have our 6 practice periods in today. And tomorrow, we'll be here at 6:30 Eastern. On the
And what
third,
are we trying to remember?
we are trying to remember
What
that
is it?
God is in everything I see and hear right now, too. Everything. God is in everything I see.
Thank you.
This has been beautiful this morning. Thanks, everybody.
Bob has inspired me to go get a cup of Colombian coffee. I see God in the Colombian coffee.
Me too. Cheers to that.
That's
Thank
why
you.
this room is so
That's
perfect.
awesome.
6 a.m. morning coffee.
And you all make it so delicious.
Yes, as Colombian coffee. Well, I guess the captain needs to land this plane.
Create a great
All
day.
right.
Namaste.
Namaste, Tom.
Namaste, Tom.
Namaste.
Bye, everyone.
Namaste.
Namaste.
See
Love
you
to
tomorrow.
everyone.
Navegando un mundo, sigue caminando.
Have a great day.
Have a great day, everybody.